Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Talking with a Dad podcast. This evening, we have an interesting show. Don't have a huge subject matter. We are gonna review and talk about UFC 254, a fight card well worth my money. In every aspect, even the prelims were very, very good. So we're gonna go over that, and we're gonna look at what Khabib's career potentially, and see where we are, and So we're gonna do that. Another UFC episode. These are the best episodes, honestly. Honestly, the best episodes. My favorite to do by far. You guys don't seem to fucking like them at all, but nothing I could do there. I guess
the range of emotions that you go through, man, is like biblical. Like I love it, man.
I mean, I'm a showman, Steve.
And you know what? You are a showman, Zach. That pack shirt is the fire, though, man. That's what you kids say. The fire. It's Liddy.
Not me. I don't fucking say that. This is PAX 2016.
Looks good, man. I like it. Are you saddened at all? Are you saddened by the loss of the Eagle?
Yes, I am. Right. I'm. It is no shock to anybody that I'm a huge Khabib fan. I like watching him fight. I like watching people try to solve the puzzle that is Khabib. You know, that's huge, right? No one has figured out how to solve it. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, we see things in his game plan. We see holes. We see this. We see that." And then Khabib goes and outstrikes Justin Gaethje in round one potentially, and you know it's interesting to see what he's become, right? Because he's different than what he was, and he's evolved, and he adds this very rudimentary striking. To be fair, very rudimentary, but somehow makes it effective, right? And it's all on the back of that fear that he puts in you. That, you know, he shot in the middle of the cage, by the way. Did you see that?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and he shot up against the cage from a mile away and got the takedown.
You know what's crazy? As much as we've talked about that, it dawned on me. I was like, I might have been a bit too hard on Khabib in regards to him not shooting for the strong double leg, considering how many injuries. I was reviewing his career and considering how many like blown out knees, back injuries, torn ligaments. Like his body's been through a lot.
He broke his foot 3 weeks before this fight.
That's what men are made of. Like me and you.
He had like measles in the beginning of his camp, and like he had one of the worst camps he's ever had, apparently, according to Javier Mendez, if we're going to believe that or not.
Really? Worse in what way?
He said so the first 3 weeks of the camp, measles or mumps or whatever it was, went through AKA apparently, where he was doing his training, and he got it in week 2, and then obviously dealing with the issues with his father passing and trying to really decide if he wants to take the fight or not, and then also breaking his foot 3 weeks out of the fight. That's a hard fucking training camp, man.
That's extremely hard. Just the death of his dad alone, man.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so the father trainer dynamic it's one of legend in any combat sport, right? You look at dads who've raised their kids to be boxers and they're cornermen. Typically you see some stuff that you don't want to see, right? Like the dad becomes abusive, or he's a jackass, or jealous of the success because his career didn't take off. But to see the relationship that Khabib had with his dad, and also you got to take in the cultural difference too, that you know, if there's a reverence there, right? Watching that video with Khabib, his dad, and that bear, that if that doesn't get you to the point of wanting to cry. I saw one that had some like new age music playing, and I was just like, oh man, this is killing me. This is killing me. And then to see the impact that it had on his entire team
and his career, right? Like, and everyone there's career.
Yes. It's so weird. I was trying to explain to someone else, man. They were like, why is it different than an American gym? I'm like, it's not different, same principles, but you're talking about something a little bit different. You're talking about a different honor code. There's a real martial arts philosophy that goes with sambo training and combat sambo. And it's one of the things that I know if anyone watches, I know I'm gonna get tore up for this. The one thing that's usually missing in American MMA gyms is the martial arts aspect. You get a lot of like bro behavior,
right. I know exactly what you mean, right?
You know what I mean? It's like
it lacks the discipline and the honor and the very like stringent way that a gym is supposed to be run, right? In traditionally martial arts. where it becomes like almost a frat house or a fraternity, right? A group of people, like-minded people over here in the U.S. Which both of it has its
both
has its ways, drawbacks. But there's one American champion right now, like just Stipe. Yeah, it's just Stipe at the moment, right? So maybe there's something to it, but yeah, the way that Khabib's father ran that camp was very, very like strict, right?
Screamed at Javier Mendez.
Yeah,
one day when he showed up late for practice. But this isn't a time for somber reflection. This is a time to celebrate the triumphant career and life of Khabib's dad and of Khabib himself. Man,
I agree.
Let's talk about the card first. Let's talk about this card because you're probably gonna have some interesting takes on it. So if you're not a hardcore fan and you're looking at this, you're not looking at a lot of potential in the card. But we got some fun fights out of this. One fight that was an honorable mention on the prelim cards. I can't believe this guy is still fighting. They still book him, and I love it. Smiling Sam Alvey versus Jung Daun. Did you watch that fight at all?
No, I didn't.
So all right, so Jung is he's a highly talented prospect at light heavyweight, right? He's got great power. He's got very good boxing above average boxing for MMA for sure.
And what about for light heavyweight?
Very good for light heavyweight. Okay. Like he's not ready for a Glover Teixeira at this moment in his career, but
close.
Give him some, but close. Like his. Now, I know what you're thinking. In your head, you're like, Steve, but you said the same thing about the guy that got dry humped by Stylebender. True. I did say that. That guy does have great body. But
according to Steve, he has good boxing.
But everyone's boxing looks bad when they're fighting a superior fighter. Dude, Sam Alvey styled on this poor kid for most of the fight, right? Yeah. And the kid is just trying to make the adjustments because he's used to being the hammer. He's coming in, he's leading with the hook, and Sam Alvey's doing something he's never done in his career. He's stepping off to the left and hitting him with a jab. He's stepping off to the right and hitting him with a hook. He's doing all types of stuff. I didn't even know Sam Alvey could throw kicks. And then all of a sudden, I've never seen him throw a kick in his career before, even when he was on The Ultimate Fighter. And then all of a sudden, as Sam Alvey's about to coast in to victory, Jung snaps out of it. And he's like, I can't get beat by this guy. This will literally be the end of my career. Stops throwing hooks and makes the appropriate adjustment because he realizes his hooks are extending past Sam Alvey's head because Alvey's moving in to kind of muff the punch. He said next time Alvey did it, he went to the well too many times. Kid shortens the hook into an elbow, catches him dead on the temple. And poor Sam Alvey just looked like he deflated. Dude, it wound up being a unanimous draw. Great showing for Sam Alvey. You know what's really great about that? His wife was an American Top Model, has no martial arts background, got married to this guy. Now she is an active member of his corner and not an idiot either. She actually, even Daniel Cormier says she knows what she's talking about. She's calling out the hits. She's throwing out the secret code for combos. Good for him. Don't give Sam Alvey any more fights, though. I think at this point in his career, it's dangerous, and it's ironic that I'm saying this given our prior conversation before the show. At this point in his career, it's dangerous for him to be doing this, right? It's like
it took me a second to realize what conversation. We had a long pre-show today.
So I just it's time, right? This is why they should hire you. This could be a full-time employment gig for you, Zach. You could be the guy they send in to tell the gatekeepers, like, hey, you know what? It's been one hell of a run. And you give them the old Yeller speech, rub their bellies, take them out back, and say, "That's it for you, little buddy," and put him down. I can't see why they would give him another one. He's going to get killed. He's going to get hurt.
Let him die.
Then we move on to your boy Alex Oliveira. I'm going to let you kick this one off because I would love to hear what you thought.
I didn't see this fight.
You didn't see this fight?
No, like I said earlier, I came in right as Nathaniel Wood was walking into the cage.
So Rakhmonov, obviously, he's coming out of Kyrgyzstan, Sambo champion, a lot of great fighters coming out of there, man. And they gave him to someone that's a veteran, right? I thought this was too big of a step up in competition until I started looking this kid up. I'm like, man, he's 13-0. This is going to be a really tough outing for him. You could not tell. The one noticeable punch Oliveira got was a step and cross that caught the kid off guard and then after that, it was downhill. Like, I mean, systematically walked him down and just broke him down. This kid is definitely going to make it on my list of people to watch. Yeah. Yes, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
And I want to address something that I know you're not listening to right now, but I'm going to drag you into this controversy because you're my boy. No, not listen. You're not listening to this controversy. Paulie Malignaggi, boxer outside of MMA, has recently declared that boxing is now controlled by Europeans. This is causing a lot of controversy, obviously, in America, but there's some data to back up in regards to what he's saying. If he was to make that a broader statement, combat sports, I want to see who's going to slow down the onslaught of fighters coming from Russia and Kazakhstan and that province, Kazakhstan. Because right now, if you think about it, there's only one person that's defeated two of them in a row. And it's a guy you would never think. It's Bearju, the Scot, the light heavyweight. He's choked out two Sambo submission champions in his UFC career. But I want to see where this whole thing is going, because at this point, like you said before the show, we only have one American champ. It's gonna be that was weird. Where'd you go?
Yeah, my webcam broke. Yeah, I mean, we have one American champ at the moment. So,
but great fight, man. You should, if you get a chance, go back and watch that one again. I missed the Nathaniel Wood one, so you're gonna have to leave me on the dance on this one. Or you walked in late for it, correct?
No. So I saw this fight. I saw all of the Nathaniel Wood, Casey Kenny fight. Very good in my opinion. It was just from start to finish, they were just throwing at each other, right? And that's what it was. It just became a brawl in the middle of the ring. And yeah, I thought the decision was pretty good. I thought the decision might have been iffy, I think, because it was a fight where you could see it going either way. And those fights are scary, right? Especially when you're in a foreign country. You don't know who the judges are. I mean, judges are always bad in the UFC, to be fair. So yeah, I could see it going either way, but those guys threw at a pace that was insane. It was insane.
Actually, I did see this fight because this is the one you texted me, and I went back and I watched it. So Wood, I'm gonna put my money on the table right now, man. He has everything it takes to be a champion. The problem was he walked into Casey Kenny that night, and Casey Kenny was losing some of those exchanges in the first round. It definitely looked like I was like, oh man, this is not going to turn out well for him. But he turned it on. He turned it on in the last round. You're right.
It was just
the
crazy.
amount of inside leg kicks these guys were throwing at each other,
back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It was like 1 for 1 and 1 for 1 and 1 for 1 and 1 for 1 and hook and 1 for 1 and 1 for 1. It was actually really, really intense. It was actually a very, very good fight in my opinion.
They were so fast too, and like it's just so technically sound, man. What do you think about Casey Kenny's future, man? Like I don't want to jump on the bandwagon yet, but
no, I'm not in the bandwagon yet. But like,
right,
I'm like outside the station. You know, I'm not even in the station yet. I'm not buying my ticket. I'm not like on the platform waiting. I'm not number one in the seat, right? But I'm like, I'm there. I'm like walking by. I'm like, oh, Casey Kenny, huh? All right, okay. That's where I am with him right now. I don't think it's any more than that. Fun to watch. Fun to watch.
Do you think he should fight one more time this year? Because I think this is number 3 for him already.
Yeah, he fought. It's 4.
This is number.
Yeah. February, May, October 3rd, October 24th. No, he doesn't fight again this year. He fights maybe January, but.
Dude, you gotta love COVID UFC. Like you just gotta love the effect that it's had on people.
Way better.
Like, I don't know if we're gonna get a check next week. I need to take this fight. That's the pitch Dana's giving them. He's like, food. Everyone needs it in these uncertain times.
Everyone wants it.
Will you fight for it though?
Yeah. This guy's making $5,000 a fight, right? Like he's barely paying his bills with what the UFC pays him at this rate. But yeah, incredible fight. I thought that was definitely fight of the night, 100%. And I thought that bonus was correct on that. There wasn't anyone even close to that on fight of the night, in my opinion. Because fight of the night has to be competitive, if you ask me. And that was one hell of a fight for sure.
Dude, Fight of the Night actually has to be something that makes you want to sit up and go, I'll watch that again when it's free on YouTube.
Yes.
I'll rewatch that fight over and over again
when it's uploaded illegally on YouTube with like some weird music behind it. Absolutely.
With the little it's in a little box.
Yeah, it's in a little box and it moves every once in a while. Yeah. So they can't really pick it up on the algorithm, right?
The watermarks. Stefan Struve, man. This is
just he needs to retire. He didn't look competitive. He tried to throw, I don't know, 55 kicks towards Tai Tuivasa, and once Tuivasa got around it, he hit him. Good for Tuivasa to get back in the win column for sure. I actually do enjoy watching Tuivasa fight. I think he's fun. Especially at heavyweight. Heavyweight has a lot of stinkers, right? And then when you get up into the top 10, and it's like, oh, okay, these guys are good, but like, yeah, I like Tai Tuivasa. I actually like Stefan Struve too, but he doesn't have a chin left, man. He got knocked. No. He got knocked out. Like, isn't it like harder to throw a punch up, right? Unless you lose power going up.
Yeah, take a little snap off of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how many times has this guy been knocked out? And he's a foot taller than the ring. Like, he was getting held up against the cage. He was like leaning outside of the ring, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, someone tickle his ear or something. That'd be hilarious. But
it's just come over.
He's like, what the fuck? I'm dead. No, very, very good. Very, very good for Tuivasa to get back in the win column. And do his thing. That's where we're at.
I'm sorry. Give me a second.
Did you like how I just threw that in
there? So here's the thing. Okay, so Tuivasa did something that was amazing, right? But you got to think the Stefan Struve, like someone's got to tell you, like, hey man, you're like, extremely tall. This guy's really short. You're gonna have to hit him with a knee as he's coming in. You don't need to be throwing head kicks, bro.
Dude, I didn't even think of that.
You don't need to be winging fucking karate kicks to try to think
he wasn't even throwing head kicks, dude. He was throwing like waist high kicks for Stefan Struve, and it just happened to hit him in the face.
You know, he was like, once upon a time, like a highly sought after, touted.
I'm sure because he's so big, right? Like,
yeah.
I get
like people.
That.
Like and then he actually has a pretty decent ground game, man. But it's time, man. I know Dana and these guys don't want to let anyone go right now because they need active bodies. But it's time to sit down with Sean Shelby.
What do you mean active bodies? When the last time Stefan Struve fought?
Exactly. They need someone that's willing to step in. But it's time. Just sit down with Sean, and you have the hard conversations. Like I remember there was a time when UFC. Last year, remember they cut like 20 fighters or something crazy in one day, like just like you're done.
Yeah, well, they were on top of the world, right? At least I thought they were. This year of fighting, by the way, has been spectacular.
It's been amazing.
It's been incredible. The UFC has put on some fantastic fights. You do have to give them like as much credit as you possibly can.
All the credit,
yeah. It's been a very, very good year.
Dude, this is going to go down as a banner year. Maybe not business-wise for their parent company, but for the
actual property of UFC. This is a year that you want to sell after.
Yeah.
No, seriously, right? Because you're on top of the world. Everyone's like, oh my god, the UFC looks amazing right now, and it's like, oh, it's COVID, so they're not going to make that much money, so the finances make sense. We can get them at a lower valuation, and then like next year we're just going to pop off if we do this again. And now, it is the first year of the ESPN contract, and if you remember back to the Fox Sport 1 contract, that first year was also very good, if I remember correctly, and then it kind of like petered out a little bit. But I think the fights, like a lot of fights right now to be made in the UFC, are like some of the best that have ever been made.
Yeah, well, because I really do think that they're starting to embrace the philosophy of fight the best fighters now. Fight them young, get them in their primes, and put on the matches that people want to see.
Yeah,
and then. I'm not going to mention his name, but the guy that was in before Sean Shelby was a prick, and there's no other way to describe it. If there was anyone that was crooked in the UFC, it was Joe Silva.
Oh, okay.
I said his name. Joe Silva is quite possibly, I think, one of the main reasons that a lot of fights got lost.
He signed Khabib, right?
Yes, he did sign Khabib. But that don't count for shit. Like, look what he did to poor Brandon Schaub, the greatest to ever do it.
The best, the absolute best. My patron saint.
The hybrid, man.
Is that what his nickname was?
Yeah.
Hybrid of what? Getting knocked the fuck out?
It was supposed to be some type of suggestion of how he was a new age fighter. Like new breed fighter. I'm sorry, new age implies he probably has
sure
crystals in.
a hybrid or hybrid was it? I thought it was Big Brown. Oh no, here it
Uh,
is. The Sting, the hybrid, and then Big
yeah.
Brown.
What was Ronda Rousey's husband's name? Travis Brown, but he had forget it. His career is over anyway. But it's time to get Struve out of there. Two of our he needs to. I have the perfect matchup for him actually, and it's not someone that would be necessarily easy for him, but I actually would not mind seeing him go up against Curtis Blades. Let me make my case here for a second, man.
You're slaughtering this poor kid, man. You're slaughtering him. You're like, all right, well, let's tune up Curtis Blades to take on fucking whoever after Stipe retires. That's literally what that fight is. You can't convince me otherwise. You literally cannot.
Listen, Tuivasa been down there training with DC. His wrestling, according to DC, is growing rapidly. I think that, you know what, a sprawl and brawl, as we learned with Curtis's last fight, might gas him out. We might actually get to see something exciting. Not that Curtis isn't an exciting fight, but I want to get an Eastern Island person up there a little bit higher, man. I feel as if though I missed the Mark Hunt era, and I think we could get it again with Tuivasa, man. I think we can get some of those walk-off knockouts once again. You don't think so?
Man, I don't know, man. Mark Hunt had like that. Was it a left hook that was like just, it was absurd, dude? Absurd. Like they're talking about Francis's power, but that fucking Mark Hunt put people away, dude, and would hit him and then be like, "All right, well, nothing else to do here, boys. Going home."
Dude, he hit Frank Mir, and Frank Mir literally started raising his hands to God after he hit him. He was on the ground, dude. Like that's when you know you really got a good shot in, man.
Yeah. Like that Buckley knockout where he fucking spin kicked that guy and then just walked away, right? Like Mark Hunt did that throughout his entire career. You could watch him in pride doing that to people, and just it would hit him and walk away. And like, if you have that much confidence, because like I've seen people get knocked out and then just like back into it immediately, and like where a ref wouldn't stop it essentially.
Yeah.
He hit people so fucking hard that never happened.
Dude, he knocked out Big Country, the greatest to ever jump up on the octagon cage. No one's ever jumped up there as good as Roy Nelson did, but he slept him. Like I thought he was dead. Yeah. Like I literally thought he got away with going into a country bar, beating Roy Nelson to death, and then leaving. It was horrible. But we need some more of that in the heavyweight division. I'm not saying that we don't have heavy hitters in there, man, but it's a stink fest right now, right? Like, and if anyone's willing to debate the subject outside of the top four, you start looking at the prospects that are coming up, and no one's in heavyweight.
I would say outside the top 10, maybe.
I'm trying to think of anyone that stands out to me after the top 5.
I think Overeem ranked outside of the top 5.
No, not the Reem.
Dude, I feel the GOAT, dude.
I feel like the Reem would be a great guest on this show.
Oh, I think Reem would be a great person to just hang out with in general. Reem is number 5. JDS is number 6. Alexander Volkov is number 7. Augusto Sakai is number 8.
And it just keeps getting worse.
Cyril Gain at 13. Cyril Gain might have the best striking in the entire heavyweight division.
New blood, man. We need to bring over. They actually have some really great heavyweights. Surprisingly enough, in Bellator, there's some people that they're looking at.
Some good heavyweights for sure.
That they're looking at and they're thinking about bringing on. And I'm just like, God damn it,
dude! I'm telling you, man. Cyril Gain is gonna be crazy once they can get him a few fights.
Yeah,
this dude's striking is insane. Is absolutely insane,
dude. Your boy Stipe, man, he's been kind of quiet. He deserves to be quiet right now. He doesn't have to say anything. He's the champion, but
he should go home.
You know,
he should retire. There's no reason for him to take the Francis fight. He dominated Francis in the first fight.
Yeah. The only reason is you would take that fight again. I don't think he would back away from it because Francis has fought his way back to title contention.
No, listen, I get it. But there's my point there is, what is there at heavyweight for Stipe? Right. He hasn't fought Rosenstrike. But I don't think Rosenstrike hits him the way he hits everyone else.
Rosenstrike is going down the minute he throws one of those sloppy hooks. He's
for sure.
Double legged and then beaten within an inch of his life.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see the Francis fight going any different, in my opinion. Francis has gotten much better. I get that. His striking has gotten better. His defense has gotten better. I don't know. Everything has gotten better on Francis. I still don't think he's on Stipe's level.
I think the Jones fight would be the perfect send-off fight.
That's it. Yeah, that's all that's left, right? Because there's like
No.
it's a 50-50 fight for me still. Stipe is the bigger guy. Stipe is going to be, he's used to fighting at heavyweight. John's coming up. John's the better technical fighter in my opinion, but Stipe seems to have this uncanny ability to change a game plan mid fight and have to make you rethink on how to fight him, right? And again, it's John, right? John commands the octagon better than anyone maybe ever, definitely ever. John's the best at everything he's ever done inside the octagon. But I don't know, I don't know, right? Stipe throws you for a fucking loop. He's not gonna go down like everyone else John has fought, and yeah, I don't know. It's a 50-50 fight for me.
Actually, that's what makes it. Actually, I think that would be a real fans fight. And the reason is for the reasons you just laid out there. Stipe is a very intelligent fighter, knows how to make a good adjustment.
Knows how to stick to his game plan is really important.
Very important. John's also an extremely intelligent fighter.
Sure.
John's also very good at examining the fight before the fight. I really do think he walks in there going, all right, so this is going to be a dangerous fight for me to put out any offense with my fist. It's going to be a leg kick game until I can bait a person in. He's never going to try to wrestle with someone. It's going to be a diminishing return. The only reason he did that to DC was because he was the taller guy, and it just makes sense to be able to.
I think he was proving a point with DC, but
everyone should prove a point with DC. Like,
did I text you that DC's face was so punchable?
You did. You did. And I was just like, I saw his face right there with the Popeyes chicken, and I was like, it is very punchable.
That used to be a subreddit.
Huh?
There used to be a subreddit, punchable faces, and then it just went to shit. We're not gonna talk about it.
Dude, you know what the crazy thing about poor DC is, though, man, is in every scenario where he should be cheered, whenever he's shared the stage with John Jones, he's always been booed.
Yeah.
Always booed him.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I don't know. Okay, we're not gonna talk about DC, John. I can't anymore.
You can't talk about DC. But anyway, man, moving on to I missed all but 2 fights on the actual main card, but they were the 2 most important fights. So you take me through this eclectic group, this motley crew of people that I'm looking at here on the screen, all capable fighters, all
very good, very good.
All very good.
So you're talking about what, the first 2 fights on the main card?
Yeah.
So Magomed Ankalaev walked through this guy. He did. He commanded a fight the entire time. Commanded him. It was it. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was a fairly one-sided fight. And then he knocked him out. So, or TKO'd him. I can't remember. It was so unmemorable. The Lauren Murphy fight was actually very, very interesting. This Lilia Shakarova lady seems to be a very good prospect coming into the UFC, especially as a female fighter, because we know how much the UFC cares about them. Seeming to be very, very good, right? She seemed to be the faster, maybe even more on point fighter, but Lauren Murphy, after was it like she's on a 4 or 5 fight winning streak right now? Something happened. I don't know what it was. They talked about it on the broadcast where she either changed camps or like maybe decided to refocus on what her idea really was. She just overwhelmed her and got her to the ground and subbed her. Right, like that's essentially what happened. She got through the flurry of Lilia and just kind of waded the waters and found her opportunity and got her first win by submission. So.
Nice, dude. Yeah, Lauren Murphy she's actually been around for quite some time.
She's been around a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see her have a resurgence in her career. I don't know. See, who the hell are these guys, man? One of them looks familiar. Phil, my boy Phil here looks familiar.
Phil Hawes is coming off of Dana White Contender Series. Is on their last month. He was on for a second time and then came in and just fucking finished this dude.
Murderized him.
And very, 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 very good fight. The highlights were longer than the fight. It was 18 seconds long. Very good. Walked him down and knocked him out. These 3 fights, though, the Volkov Walt Harris fight, very good. I thought it was very good. I hate to root against poor Walt Harris after everything he's been through. I thought Walt Harris looked good, actually. To be honest with you, in that first round, I thought he looked pretty good. And then Volkov just kept kicking him in the stomach or something, and then eventually basically stopped him with a stomach kick, where Walt Harris audibly was uncomfortable by the kick. Did you see this fight or no?
No, I didn't see it.
So he kicked him in the stomach. He's like, oh! And then Volkov was like, all right, boys, we're going to town. But yeah, it was. I thought Harris looked okay in the first round. Again, is a very one-sided fight. It was a very, very one-sided fight, to be fair.
So the thing about Volkov is you have a guy who has a very defined skill set with him. He is an amazing striker, especially at heavyweight. And I'm talking about all points of contact: fist, elbows, knees, foot. He can hit you with every part and on different angles. Walt Harris, another guy, respectfully, that I don't want to say anything negative about. He's a fighter that has not really distinguished any skill set, right? Like, he's a heavy hitter for sure.
Yeah.
But we're starting to get further and further away from those days in MMA. Have you noticed that? Like,
right. Well, the heavy hitter doesn't always win, right?
Right. Exactly. And especially now we know that, and then you would learn this early on. It's pretty ironic that before the Jits guy would make the heavy hitter look like an idiot once he got his hands on him. But we had an era in the UFC where all you needed, switched. When you had the one-hitter quitters. This is a revolutionary idea. I think Walt Harris should focus on his cardio and his physique, and I think he can actually make 205.
I agree.
I think that maybe where he's at right now, it's a dangerous spot, because if you got,
I was just seeing what he weighed in at. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you are in the octagon with a guy who can see that tail early on, and I'm saying no one really wants to take body kicks, but also I just think maybe to give him some time to kind of move around and get to a better spot in his career, right? He's 13-9. I know this isn't boxing, but it's a dangerous place where your record is that close together. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, listen, I get that. I don't know. I like watching Walt Harris's fights, right? They're always usually very good. He thinks he's the best striker in the heavyweight division. I think he's slightly delusional.
Not true.
Not true. No, not in any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, man. But he's fought two highly ranked guys in a row, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He fought Alistair Overeem, and he fought fucking Alexander Volkov. The two best strikers probably in, other than maybe Cyril Gain, the two best strikers in the heavyweight division, technically at least. Walt Harris needs to drop to 205. I think that's a really, really good call.
And actually drop to 205, and I think skills.
I think he does well at 205.
I think he does extremely well at 205 until, he starts making it to the upper rankings. But I think maybe he's just spending more time on the cardio, the Muay Thai, the kickboxing, and a bit less time focusing and hoping to get that one-hitter quitter, and then ultimately go for a top control, because that's where his victories are. They're all top control.
Ground and pound.
Yep. So now we come to the co-main. You cannot bet against Robert Whittaker, man.
Never, bro. I would take that bet 1,000 times out of 1,000.
Let's just talk about this guy for a second, man. So the man gets starched. What was it? 2 times in the same fight, or twice in the same fight? Superior striker. Robert Whittaker is a man who's never ducked a fight, never tried to reschedule a fight. He has fought everybody that's been put in front of him from the welterweight division to where he went to middleweight, dude. Mm-hmm. And he's always done it with class, and he's a very impressive dude, man. Mm-hmm. He absolutely was amazing in this fight, man.
There's no two ways around it, man. He looked, that Robert Whittaker against Adesanya is a much better fight. It just is, right? I don't think Adesanya is that far ahead of where a Whittaker is to make him, for that to be the difference, if you get what I'm saying, right? I don't think that. I think it was a game plan issue. I don't know what it was, right? Of what Robert Whittaker going into that, but I think that Robert Whittaker there gives Izzy a Kelvin Gastelum level fight. Truly, that he looked very good. To be fair, he's having another kid. He wants to go home, spend time with the family. Don't even worry about a fight. He doesn't want to be in a training camp for when his next child is born. He said so. Hopefully the middle of next year is when we get the Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker fight. I think that's what they need to target next. I think Whittaker puts up a much better fight. Robert Whittaker getting knocked out is actually one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my entire life. I feel like he went
2 minutes
fucking wars with Yoel Romero, and to be fair, I think Yoel probably hits harder than Adesanya, right?
Yeah.
Not as accurate, not as clean, not as good of a striker. I get that. But
Devastating.
In terms of pure power, yeah, I think Yoel Romero probably hits a little bit harder. I'm interested. I'm very interested for this. What my idea of what happens is Whitaker beats Adesanya in impressive fashion, right? Not like goes and like, oh, he barely outpointed him, right? He goes and either stops Adesanya with some sort of submission, or he it's a unanimous decision, like 5-0 or something, gets the belt and retires, right? That's my idea for Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker's 29. He's like barely older than me. He's like 29 years old or something, but he's 23-5, and I bet you 20 of those fights are in the UFC, right? He's been in the UFC for almost a decade. I want him to be fully there for when his kids grow up. That's my idea, right? I don't care about he's a fighter. I get that and all of that, but at, let's say, 24-5, coming back, getting your title and doing it in a fashion where it's like, oh, we don't even need to see the trilogy, because like the first one was a fluke in my opinion. Not what I'm actually saying, but if he could prove us wrong on the Izzy fight and just retires, because he's just the best, right? And then that's it. And then he's fucking Robert Whitaker, the dad, and then goes on and lives his life, right? And that's ultimately what I want in my guys like Robert Whitaker in fighting,
You want them to sail off with their mental fortitude.
There you go. Yeah. That's what I want. I want them to. Dustin Poirier is another very good example. Yes. I want those guys to be, them in 15 years and not, 2/3 of them, right? And like you can look at Chuck Liddell as a good example. Chuck Liddell is 2/3 of what Chuck Liddell was before he was signed to the UFC. Tito Ortiz is a good example.
No, that was Jenna Jameson's fault. That has nothing to do with the concussion.
That was the okay. That's what I want for Robert Whitaker, in my opinion. Now, what would happen is Whitaker goes back, wins the fight. There's a trilogy, right? And that might be one of the most compelling trilogies I've ever seen, because Izzy is this incredible striker, decorated. Robert Whitaker is just a long-time UFC guy, and that would be really, and him versus Yoel twice. That 1 and 2 is maybe the best single fight sequel, that maybe we've ever seen, because of what those fights were. That's where I am with it.
So the thing about Robert Whitaker, man, right? So his, getting beat by Wonder Boy at welterweight, he came up. He felt like the weight cut was too much after a while, and his body was just starting to really fill out. So he comes up to middleweight, man, and he is one of 3 men that did something that a lot of people didn't think it was possible with Yoel. And I'm talking about Yoel in his prime, right?
Yeah.
He fought Yoel. Fought him. Like stood there and fought that man. He fought a smart fight, but he fought him nonetheless. The only other guy to ever give Yoel the type of trouble that he had, obviously besides Acosta, but I thought that was a more diminished Yoel, was surprisingly enough Tim Kennedy, and I believe he fought Derek Brunson, and Derek Brunson gave him some trouble too, and then Yoel got him out of there post stat. But he went in there and he fought Yoel twice. You go back and watch those fights, arguably both 2 fights that will go down in middleweight history, right? As amazing fights. You're correct. Robert Whitaker is an extremely intelligent fighter. He made a good transition from traditional karate into MMA, right? Mm-hmm. This is a guy that came off the Ultimate Fighter, Australia versus England, right? Which was a weird season, by the way. A lot of weird stuff going on that season.
Yeah.
Extremely strange. And he has marched his way up to the belt. Here's the problem with the matchup with him and Adesanya, in my opinion.
Yep.
First fight.
I agree with everything you're about to say. I don't even have to listen to it. I know exactly what you're saying. I agree with every bit of it.
First fight, Robert Whitaker is fighting the way he has fought for a while now and has gotten him success. When he beat Jacare, he said out loud, everyone's like, what are you going to do that no one else has been able to do against Jacare? He's like, well, I can't do anything different, can I? He's like, the game plan is not to get taken down and to knock him out. And he's like, and I'm not even trying to be funny. He's like, that is the game plan. I have to hurt him. He did it. So he went in there after watching the Gastelum fight. I think he saw that, like, hey, pressure, and it's a correct assumption to make. Pressure gave Adesanya some very, very hard looks. But you have to keep in mind that Kelvin Gastelum is shorter than you. He's a harder target to hit in some instances. And also, he doesn't have some of the bad habits that poor Robert Whitaker has. That lean in blitz, just like Holly Holmes, will
get you caught. Yeah,
it will be your device.
In my opinion, he only did that against Cannonier when it made sense. Right, he had hits Cannonier with something from the outside, took his leg out from under him, feinted him in a weird way, and then he went in. So he fought this fight really smart. Like I'm saying, if he fights Adesanya the same way he fought Jared Cannonier, that that he doesn't get knocked out. Is a much fucking better fight.
Absolutely. Path to victory for Robert Whitaker. Second fight, I'm calling it now, man. Robert Whitaker can still be Robert Whitaker, right? But if that Robert Whitaker shows up and says, "Hey, I'm keeping this up and I'm keeping this up," and instead of lunging, I'm going under that long arm. I'm
going to the body.
I'm coming right into the body. Punch him in his chest. This is a little known secret that an old man in a boxing gym told me once. He's like, "Why are you trying to hit him in the face? He's taller than you. I want you to punch him in his chest, punch him in his body, beat him up." I agree with you. I think Robert Whitaker can do it. Not the guy that showed up in the first fight.
I think he can. I think Robert Whitaker has everything it takes to do it, right? Robert Whitaker also had one of the fucking best lines. Did you watch the post-fight press conference?
Yes, absolutely.
So he had one of the most hilarious lines I've ever heard in my entire life. He's like, "Well, I don't really want to think about the fight right now, but of course I want to fight him. You know, whether it's in my career or two old fellas in a parking lot somewhere." And I'm like, that's the funniest fucking thing I've ever said. Robert Whitaker needs to be a Twitch streamer.
100%.
Robert, he loves video games, right? He needs to be a Twitch streamer. I think that would be a good time. I think out of all like the MMA fighter Twitch streamers, because there's a fucking bunch of them now, right?
He's funny, dude.
He would be the best one. You can imagine him in there playing with like fucking like I don't know, give him like Dr. Lupo or something, and they're making jokes back and forth. That shit would be very good, very very good.
Dude, what's your guy's name? The Australian that plays Tarkov.
Pastilli.
Boom, right there.
Play him and Pastilli, duos in Tarkov.
Charity stream. It's
Call
going
it a fucking rap, dude. That's it.
Dude, here's the next thing about Robert
Whitaker's manager.
Right. I want to comment on something you said because I thought it was very astute. So you talked about Dustin Poirier and Robert Whitaker. Very astute statement there. I don't think you realize this. They are two fighters from exactly the same era. So that era fighters, they, in my mind, and I've had this argument with so many people, are some of the most complete fighters that we saw come out of their generation. Very complete fighters, man. And I think just like Poirier, the story's not over for Robert Whitaker. And here's another thing, man. If we're talking about pure marketing, I'm going to say it. Stylebender was a dick leading up to this fight, man. And that's probably why that's probably why I have a problem with it. I was like, dude, you don't have to talk trash about Robert Whitaker. You just get in there and beat him, and people will respect him. Respect you. Go in there and show you're the better fighter. But he's the type of guy where it looks stupid to be that way towards him. Robert Whitaker is a real warrior, a humble man who would probably buy you food if you didn't have money.
Oh, for sure, dude. For sure. Robert Whitaker is on my... So I have a very short list of people who I want as a guest on this show, right? Because I don't care. Like, generally, I don't care, right? Like, I love to have guests. I love all of guests that we have had on. And I think having a guest is a good time. But the show is me and you, right?
Yeah.
Whitaker was one of those people that I would fly to Australia or New Zealand, right? New Zealand or Australia, one or the other. Australia. I would fly to Australia if I had to get Whitaker on the show, right? Because I feel like he would be he would be an incredible guest.
I think he would fit in as well as everyone else that came on the
for
show.
Sure. Like, better.
I'm not done. I'm not done praising this man because when we were texting after I was talking about this, man. Here's another reason I think he can give Izzy problems, right? I think that right now would be the best time to catch Izzy, that is. Because I think his ego,
hype, right at the the biggest part of his hype, and you humble him. I agree.
His ego is definitely starting to get to him, but Robert Whitaker is also very astute. And he's like, Izzy's got other stuff going on. He's talking about going up to light heavyweight. Someone needs to stop that conversation right now. We need to start getting real. We need to start getting real about these.
He gets so smoked, dude. Dude, here's the issue, right? John Jones hits him with 3 leg kicks, and Adesanya can't walk anymore, right? Let's be fair. Adesanya doesn't have anything on his legs that would even like help the welting and bruising of what John is going to do. John hits him with one of those teep kicks and fucking dislocates his knee, in my opinion, right? Like, dude, for a kickboxer, that guy has small legs, and that's what I'm trying to say.
No, I agree with you. There's obviously if power won every fight, then every power hitter would be a champion.
I agree.
But we're talking about John's going to take the least resistance, right? The path of least resistance.
He could take him down and do what he wants with him. Let's be fair, right?
One of those kicks. I wouldn't be surprised if John just throws him out the octagon and he finally goes to prison.
What happens if you get tossed out of the octagon? I wonder.
Dude, could you imagine? Like, at first,
it has to be a DQ. He grabs him by the leg and goes swing. Like, have you ever played like the old N64? How you had to beat Bowser with Mario? You grab him by the fucking tail and throw him. That's exactly what happens. He takes Izzy and throws him out of the ring.
Dude, I agree, man. I agree. If Robert Whittaker does beat Izzy, unless they pressure him into a trilogy fight, you can sail off into the win. There's nothing left in his career to prove, right?
No, I agree. And because he's not going to outpoint him, right? That's the thing. Whittaker is not going to outpoint Israel Adesanya. Let's be fair. Israel Adesanya comes from kickboxing is traditionally a point fighting, right?
Point knockout.
There's not right knockouts, but like the way you want to be super successful in kickboxing is not get knocked out and win your fights. And point fighting is a really easy way to do that. And yeah, you see that in Adesanya sometimes where he's just picking the right punches that are like, okay, that's going to look good on a scorecard. That's going to look good on a scorecard. Not to say the man doesn't have power. He knocked out he knocked out Robert Whittaker. He put away Paulo Costa. I get that, right? He almost put away Yoel. I give him that. I think Yoel kind of had some issues there. I think that Robert Whittaker wins.
So did you see Paulo Costa calling out Whittaker?
Whittaker would fucking eat that dude's lunch.
He's just trying to get a little bit back.
No, dude. Did everyone realize he didn't deserve to fucking be there? Like, finally, do I not look like the crazy person saying this now? He had no fucking. He in my opinion, he was maybe in the top 10. He didn't beat. He beat fucking Yoel, beating a guy who is 4 for your last 4. What is he? One win in 6 fights.
He lost the last 3 prior to that fight. No, lost 2 to Robert Whittaker, and prior
2
to that,
Whittaker,
knocked out Rocco.
Yeah, okay, that was maybe one of the best fucking knockouts I've ever seen. But
no, you're right. You're right though. So here's the thing, man. Paulo Costa, he's a macho man, right? He got dry hump.
That was
potentially sexually assaulted in the octagon.
He's won one of his last 5 fights. Like, that to me isn't like, you don't. I mean, the Whittaker fights are is what it is, right? But you don't. That doesn't make you a number 1 contender, right?
No.
Justin Gaethje right now is the number 1 contender for the title, in my opinion. Walked in the interim champion, put on as good of a fight as anyone could have against what is Khabib, right? Because he's transcended who he's an is now. He's a what? He's like, what the fuck just happened? He is the number 1 contender, in my opinion. Poirier, Gaethje for the belt, and that's where you have to go, because there's the last 2 guys.
Hold on. Don't you dare jump ship over to that already. Let's finish demolishing poor Paulo Costa's career.
Yeah, fuck Paulo Costa. He's a bitch.
Here's something to say about that guy, right? Not Whittaker. He doesn't deserve Whittaker.
No,
but I would give him Darren Till.
Darren Till's fighting, isn't he? Darren Till has a fight, doesn't he?
No, I don't. Does he? I never know what that guy's up to. Darren Till is an interesting match for him because he's not going to fight Gastelum. Paulo Costa is not going to fight Gastelum because even though they don't train out of the same camp, they run in the same circles. I don't think they're going to.
He's fighting on December 5th.
Who's he fighting?
Jack Hermanson.
This is the shit I'm talking about.
That's a bad fight for Till, I think.
Yeah, dude, come on, man. Never mind. I'm not going to disrespect Hermanson, man.
I'd rather see Till get a title shot than Paulo Costa ever fight again.
Dude,
I'm so over that dude. I was so over him before he fucking fought Izzy, and then he got embarrassed. He landed 1 strike the entire fucking fight. 1 leg kick. Never. Yeah. And then I was like, no more. Like, it was embarrassing. It was an embarrassing title fight.
It was that's gonna be a hard one for him to wash out. You know, it's crazy. I was watching. Sorry, I'm switching back to boxing. I'm gonna get
You're
so
good.
off this. I was watching some more of the Lopez kid that beat Lomachenko. I'm sorry, and
TFT Lopez. Yeah. He's good, man. Dude, he's good.
I was gonna send you the reel, but it was 4:00 in the morning, and I know there's a point where
I would have watched it.
I watched his top 5 knockouts, and I can see why they thought he was just coming in a power puncher. But someone's got to do your scouting for you, Zach. Do me a favor, man. If I ever fight, scout my fights for me.
I got you.
Don't let me listen to myself like, oh, he's just a power puncher. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have somebody in your corner. You gotta have somebody in your corner to scout. And I'm
in the corner for sure, by the way.
Yeah. I don't even know what we're talking about right now. Like in this
hypothetical fight. Yeah.
This hypothetical situation. That would be anyway. Moving right along, folks. Here's what's gonna happen. Robert Whitaker, unfortunately, will probably have to fight Zach's favorite fighter, and I don't. Paulo Costa.
You think he's going to fight Paulo Costa? I don't. I think the next fight. Data said he won't. Data said his next shot is Adesanya, right? Yeah. And listen, if he loses to Adesanya, I think the same thing. I think Robert Whitaker retires. He's been in the fight game. He's been in the UFC since 2012. He's 29 years old, dude. He signed up for the UFC when he was signed by the UFC at 21, and he's fought the who's who of the UFC.
You know who dodged a fight with him? 2 guys in particular. And I got respect for both of them, but I'm sorry, you guys would have got starched. Chris Weidman and Michael Bisping. These were fights.
Fuck it.
Wait, those were both fights where you would have got starched. Robert Whitaker, you're the man. Jarrett Kerner, you're fighting Paulo Costa. There, it's settled. Now we get to the main
I like
event.
that fight, actually. I think Paulo loses that fight against Cannonier. I think Cannonier's a nightmare not named against people not named fucking Kelvin Gastelum. I just throw Kelvin Gastelum in everywhere. I like watching Kelvin Gastelum fight. Who needs to go back down to 70?
Dude, what's he doing anyway? He's
lost like 97 times in a row. Yeah, I think Cannonier is a good number 4. I just don't think he's in the top 3. That's where I was.
I agree with you.
What's G.O.A.T doing?
No, if I hear one more rumor about him going up to 205. Maybe he should. Maybe he should. I think at this point he's very much like one of my favorite boxers, where we got to stop believing the hype about a 40-year-old man and his capabilities. He's physically fit. He's a specimen, but he is starting to slow down.
He hits hard.
He hits hard, but I said that to Santana in the second fight against Whitaker. I'm like, he's lost a step. Yeah. It's hard to see, but it's becoming more and more noticeable, and he's not able to do the things that but he used to be able to do. If he goes up to 205 right now, would be the best time. No, but he's gonna run into a Polish brick wall.
Oh, in Blachowicz, dude. Okay, so to be fair, I think that fight's hard for John.
What, Blachowicz?
Yeah, I think that Blachowicz fight's hard for John because he's not going to do John was in the same scenario as Khabib, where he would go in and then just control the pace, right? I don't think Blachowicz will do that. I think Blachowicz will because he is such a good technical striker. I think Blachowicz goes in and almost does the same thing he does to Dom Reyes, right? And just hits you with that kick over and over and over. And John's prone to being hit, right? Let's be fair. John's been hit a few times in his last few fights, but he gets hit like that from Blachowicz. It's very hard to move. Now, let's be fair. I would never vote against John Jones. I think it's just a dumb idea, but I think that right now is actually a more interesting fight than him going up to heavyweight.
Well, the tails are there, right? So Blachowicz is obviously going to come in and he's going to be aiming for the legs. That's clearly something that John skated by in his career. No one ever threw leg kicks at him, ever. Go look at the footage. Look at the footage.
I'm thinking. No, he's the one who he's the one who brought it into the UFC, essentially, right?
Like he brought the oblique in. Yeah, and so Blachowicz comes in. You're right. He's going to soften those legs up. He's going to go for He's definitely going to go for the mid side because he's not going to be trying to headhunt with the head kick. But this is the only path to victory for John, and the thing you have to worry about the most. What does the adjustment look like? What does the scout looks like? What does the scouting of the fight look like prior to that? Because if he comes in and he says, okay, I know he's going for my legs, I know he's going for the midsection, John might just do what Corey Anderson should have done when he went in there. And maybe if Dom Reyes had the ability to do, says, I'm not striking tonight. I'm really gonna rely on the fact that I can just get, I might be able to take this guy down and control him.
What is Blachowicz like
background?
Yeah, kickboxing clearly.
Muay Thai, but he's got his wrestling's gotten a lot better. His takedown defense has gotten a lot better.
He trains with Goss, doesn't he? Does he? He trains out of Poland, but there's no way he doesn't go to that camp and train, right?
I guess, man. Like, I feel so bad,
bro. If I'm in Poland, there's no fucking way. If I have that resource of Alexander Gustafsson that close,
Switzerland,
Swedish. They're right. They're right there, dude.
Are they that close to each other,
bro? So it's like Russia. Here's Sweden. Oh, hold on. Here's Russia. Here's Sweden over here, and Poland's like right here, dude. It's like a 4-hour flight or some shit. Like, yeah. He's a black belt in BJJ, by the way.
Is he?
Yeah, under Jose Morera. I don't know who that is.
The Morera clan.
Yeah. Well, that goes back a long time. Yeah, he was taught by Carlson Gracie. So that's where he comes from.
He's got the pedigree. Here's the thing, man. I think that's a hard fight for John. I think let's be real, man. Every fight at this point in John's career is going to be extremely hard. Now, I don't know if they're telling John that. I honestly was thinking about this the other day, man. I think John, man, people are gonna get mad at me for saying this. John's been at Jackson Wink for too long.
He needs to be out of his comfort zone is that ultimately what you're saying is not like, hey, we think this camp is washed up, because Jackson Wink is obviously a clearly very, very good camp for any fighter to be at. But he needs to be outside of his comfort zone.
Outside of his comfort zone?
Rufus Sport? Clean up his striking?
I would probably send John
TriStar?
I would probably send John down to what was TJ Dillashaw's striking coach's name?
The guy that gave him steroids? That's the only way that I know him from.
No, he didn't give him steroids. TJ was getting that from. Did he give him steroids? No, he did not.
It's always a striking coach, dude. You should know that by now. It's always the striking coach. They're the shadiest guys.
Speaking of which, I gotta go meet my guy. I'll
be right back.
Honestly, if I was John, man, I would probably go up to Elevation and train with those guys over there.
Where is Elevation at?
Colorado, I believe.
It in Denver? Yeah. That's where I figured. I didn't want to say that out loud.
I just feel like he should. I feel like he should get out of his comfort zone, and I think that he needs to be challenged in the way he has. You can't be the big fish in the same gym forever. But screw John.
Right. I mean, I'm sure they don't call Overeem back in after the stories. They don't call Reem back in, I'm sure.
Dude, no. If I was a trainer, man, and I had a talent like John on my hands early on, I'd be like, you know what you're gonna do? Just because I see you're prone to ego problems, you're gonna go to a Muay Thai gym, because I know you have problems with that, and you're gonna do sparring every Monday, just once a week, so you can spar with the best guys, and it gives you a look, and you learn something different. You know what? God damn it, John! Screw you, man. I'm over you, bro. Let's talk about the man of the hour, and then we'll get back to John somehow, because he's
always works his way in every single show for sure.
Dude, all the hype. I led with my heart. I'm thinking in my head it's going to be leg kicks, it's going to be lower kicks, it's going to be all types of stuff. Everything I thought Justin Gaethje was going to do to Khabib did to Justin Gaethje.
Listen, no. Let's be fair about this, right? He hit him with every leg kick he possibly. He almost took him off of his feet with a leg kick, right?
Right.
Khabib's front leg, like Justin Gaethje said after the fight, he's going to be limping for 3 weeks, right? And I 100% believe that. There is no one, first of all, at 55. And at this point, I don't think there's anyone at 70 who could withstand that pressure. Listen, I've heard the Kamaru Usman argument, and I get that. And Kamaru Usman's not going to back down, not going to do that, and not going to do that. Everyone has said that about every person Khabib has ever fought, right?
Right.
The same thing. Listen. You even said going into this, well, Gaethje's going to be the guy who gets up quick because he was a D1 wrestler. You had said that, and I'm like, okay. He took him down and wrapped his legs up before Gaethje knew what the fuck was going on. And I think he does that to Kamaru Usman too.
Man.
Hypothetically, right? Because Khabib was retired.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, man. I know what happens when they get there, right? The lead up is everything. And then you get there and then you realize you're standing across from a man who's coming forward no matter what. He's not using head movement.
Gaethje did
He's
it.
not. What?
But Gaethje did the same thing. Gaethje was this guy, right? Connor was this guy. Dustin Poirier, well, Dustin Poirier is a little more smart.
No.
But Gaethje was supposed to be the guy.
He froze in front of Khabib. I think there is an element of that, dude, where they just
I don't know.
I don't want to take anything away from Khabib, but I think that like a lot of times it's like
it's a little mental.
Well, it's
on the part of his opponent. Here's what I think really what happened, right? Gaethje hit him with the cleanest 1-2 anyone has ever hit Khabib with, and Khabib didn't even fucking look away. Gaethje hit him with the same thing he hit Cowboy with and put Cowboy away. Right. He hit him with that same. It's like a left straight right hook. Or I might be getting this backwards, but he hit him with that exact fucking combo like a minute and a half into the fight after he had kicked him 5 times in the legs. And listen, the leg kick, what he was doing there is the right way to do it. I think is you're going to chop his legs down. He hit him with a very, very clean set of strikes, and Khabib didn't even look away. Khabib didn't shake his head. He wasn't phased. He didn't breathe hard. I don't know. Like if you hit, like, listen, if you came with me and you hit me with everything you had and I didn't even flinch, like, isn't that has to be like a holy shit, I can't do this thing, right? Is that what that is?
It can be that, but what I also think it is, man, that's why I said I don't want to take anything away from Khabib. It could be the fact that like I hit this dude with everything else, but Khabib saying I'm not going to yield. Like it probably did hurt. Maybe it stunned him even, but he's not going to show it, dude.
No,
Khabib,
and show it. He didn't even take a step back. Like you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, where Gaethje, exactly. And then even like the commentators like, oh, wait a second, Khabib didn't even flinch.
But see, I'm watching it back, man, and you know, hindsight is 20/20. As I'm looking at the fight, man, I see the same mistakes that everyone makes. You know what that mistake is?
Backs up to the cage. He doesn't circle correctly. I thought he circled really well too. Dude, listen, I thought Gaethje looked really good. I think Gaethje beats Poirier, and I definitely think Gaethje beats Connor.
He's definitely the champion of the division next. I love to see how this fight's going to shape up with him and Chandler if they book that one. I suspect
that's a good fight too.
It's going to be an amazing fight. Chandler's going home though, and more than likely on his back. And it's not that I don't like Chandler. I'm actually a big fan. Let me see. All right, so I'm looking at it. I'm seeing the same mistake here. You have to watch the fight over again and see
I watched it again today.
There are too many long pauses, and that's what I was trying to articulate when we talked about this. There cannot be that long pause in between strikes with a pressure fighter like Khabib. You don't get that luxury. It's not like, bam, oh, I caught him with one. Let me admire my work. What's he doing? What's he doing?
Right. I forget what fight it was. It was no, it might have been this when he was in his corner after the first round. He's like, listen, you can't admire your work after you're done with it. Pull back and fucking hit him again. Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And like the first thing Gaethje's coach said to him was, I want 8 more fucking leg kicks. Literally verbatim was, I want 8 more leg kicks and don't get lazy. And then they were like, but you need to slow it down. And Gaethje was just like, I'm trying. And everyone has that moment when they fight Khabib, right? And this is where you think it's mental, and I probably 100% agree with you. When he took him down in that first round, he made the same face that Barboza has made, that Connor has made, that Poirier has made. He has made that same face. Every person he's fought has made that same face of, he's on top of me, how much time is left, and how the fuck do I even get out of this, right? There is no getting out of that leg lock that he does to people. Your legs are flat out with his leg under your thighs, so you can't even like flex your leg.
No, once you're in it, you're in it. The only way to
hold his head down.
Yeah, the only thing you can do is prevent it. And I think that sometimes like it's people when people are being overwhelmed, the basics go out the window. A good butterfly guard there, high up on the hips, would slow it down enough. You got to stick to your basics.
If you look at the transition from what he does from the takedown to your legs are in his control 100% of the time.
But there's a 3-part measure to what Khabib does, because because everyone's worried about the Dagestani, and you should be worried about that.
The handcuff.
Yes, but what gets him there is he's already grabbing your wrist. That's the real problem. He gets your legs cinched up because he's grabbing your wrist, and
you're worrying about one or the other thing. Yeah, someone has to beat him. Someone would have to beat him at hand fighting.
You need a gun. You shoot him,
and then you hope that he doesn't live. Yeah, man.
Look,
I texted you before the fight as like a joke that Khabib was going to outstrike Justin Gaethje in the first round, and I'm positive that he did.
Listen, I'm not here to disagree with you. Now the judges are. The judges are here to disagree with you, but we know the judges are idiots, so I'm going to agree with you.
Morons. What fight were they fucking watching?
They weren't watching that fight. They were watching another fight on Bellator. They were like, "Oh, looks good. I like
Michael Chandler guy is. Oh wait."
But here's the thing about Khabib, right? Because now that he's retired, I don't want to disrespect. He did it. He came. He saw. He conquered. Man. I remember his first tweet about RDA and about Showtime Pettis. You know, he was just basically calling his shot. Then throughout all the injuries at AKA, all the bad press. Let's remember that there was a contentious relationship between Dana and that gym for a little bit. There was a time where they were literally, besides Jackson Wink, the other thorn in his side.
Sure.
He hated Jackson Wink because he felt like their fighters fought too safe, and he hated AKA because he's like, I can't keep you guys fucking healthy. I got 3 champions outside of the same gym, and each one of you got injured before your biggest fights. And to see where Khabib has come from in his career to this point, man, it's amazing. I'm not even interested in the Tony Ferguson fight.
Nope,
you know
don't
why?
care. He gets smoked.
Because I'm the one guy on earth that would not be convinced otherwise. People stop talking to me.
No, you're right. You were right.
I've someone called me an idiot on Facebook, and I'm just like,
was that me?
I gotta give Khabib I gotta give him all of his respect. At this point, talking about how you can beat him is irrelevant because no one's
gonna beat him. No one's gonna beat him. The GSP fight is the only fight that I wish that had happened, right?
Yes,
because it's to see as a guy with who's gonna check every single one of his takedown attempts, right? Who's gonna hit him on the way in as many times as he can. But like I'm almost in the same boat. It's like I've said this about every single person he's fighting, and it's like at this point, why even try to break him down? Why even bother? Right? Because he goes out there and performs and executes the same exact game plan every single time, and no one has had an answer to him.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is people used to say the exact same thing about GSP.
Sure,
but here's the thing that I think I agree with you. At this point, there's an older GSP. I keep saying out loud to people, I'm like, GSP smokes him, because I keep thinking about GSP that made the march to the championship and then made the march again and then defended the belt. And then me and Cass were talking about this the other day. We were talking about our top champions. And the reason GSP makes it into my list is not because of his accomplishments, but because he fought Johnny Hendricks, and I will not be convinced otherwise, who was on every steroid that was available at the time, and he fought him tooth and nail. And I had so much respect for that Canadian. But I still think that there's a good chance that if I let logic rule, Khabib will get GSP on the
same. We'll do the same thing. We'll do the same exact thing.
Except for it, unless GSP, who is the most intelligent man outside of Donald Trump,
and Joe Rogan,
and Joe Rogan, obviously, does something that no one's done yet, where he's like, no, I'm not going to let you lead this dance. And that would be interesting. And that's why I thought.
But was GSP that level of pressure fighter, though? Because that's what it would have to be, right?
No, it wasn't that he was a pressure fighter. People have been pressure fighters and come at him. GSP is always extremely smart, which is where the jab came from.
Sure.
It's an amazing jab, and it was taught to him by one of the best boxing coaches to ever live. You pressure him, he hits you with the jab, you move out of the way of the jab, the inside leg kick's coming. You move out of the way of the inside leg kick, he's shooting a double leg. I remember I saw GSP feint a leg kick, and the person went to go check it, and before he could get his leg down, GSP was already dragging him across the octagon. But he doesn't have that explosiveness anymore. Khabib is the man, but he's not the GOAT. So this is what.
I agree. He's the best. He's the best lightweight of all time.
All time. But John, you know, I'm your fan, man. You got to chill out on. You got to chill out.
He needs to not defend himself so much. I get it. Like, listen, I get how prideful John may be, but sometimes silence speaks way more words. Listen, I don't even care if it's not even a let Khabib have his moment thing. It's like
moment.
It is, right? It is, but like, wait 6 weeks and everyone's like, oh yeah, John's the greatest of all time, right? Like,
yeah.
Listen, if Khabib had, let's say, another 2 years in him, and he fought okay, maybe another 15 years because he only fights once a year. But if he fought 3 times in the next 2 years and defended it the exact same way that he has now, I actually think that his 7 defenses versus John's 17 defenses, it's 15 right now, but I'm giving him 2 for the 2 years or whatever. I think they're more impressive. I get that John fought the who's who on the way up, and I get that John has legitimately beat everybody. But Khabib dominates every moment he is in the octagon like no one ever has, and I'm not sure anyone ever will again.
No, the only other person to do it, you would have the same argument about this that you had when they compared him to John, was Demetrius. But prior to
Demetrius lost.
No, but prior to the Henry Cejudo fight, when we're talking about the March, because he
lost before that.
Yeah, but when he became champion, he has the most title defenses in UFC history.
You're right. You're right.
But here's the thing, and actually, I want to throw something out there. If we're gonna get into the fantasy league type conversation, which we inevitably do, which is always fun.
Always, yeah. We have nowhere else to go but there.
Demetrius had a great run. Let's talk about the type of fighter I think. Actually, there's only one type of fighter I think that actually could have beat Khabib, and it's not Demetrius. You have to have a guy.
He makes a good argument.
He makes a good argument, but I believe you got to have a Henry Cejudo at 155 to beat a Khabib.
Oh, so you mean an Olympic gold medalist wrestler? Right?
Yes.
Who Henry Cejudo is actually one of the things that I'm really sad about, where he's not fighting. And at this point, I guess I believe his retirement is real. And maybe he's going to go back into wrestling. He legitimately got better every single one of his fights.
Absolutely.
Right. Listen, I don't think he beat DJ in the second fight, in my opinion. I actually thought that was a robbery in my opinion. But he legitimately learned something, and the thing that he needed to learn every single time in between fights. And that's what makes Cejudo so scary. Because I think if Cejudo fights him, I think Khabib wins the first fight. And then Cejudo fights 3 more guys and then is like, okay, Khabib, I learned what you did now. Let's fucking go. This is the real fight. And I think Cejudo wins a second fight with him. That's my opinion of what it is, because he's going to learn what it is that he has to do. And Cejudo's going to go off and become his own Sambo champion of some sort and come back and be like, oh, okay. I did Olympic gold medalist. You did Sambo. Oh, I also did Sambo now. Let's see where this goes. And I think that's what Cejudo did so well.
He's extremely intelligent. We're talking about a man whose coach said you need to do some golden gloves before you get into MMA, just to get used to getting struck at, because he's so, he's a wrestler. He's not
wrestler, and the highest level of wrestler.
Yeah, he's not used to having punches come at him. So they get him into some boxing. He took to it like a fish in water. The thing that happened with him and DJ is, like, when he met DJ, they rushed him into that fight. There was no need to send him up there to get massacred, and DJ finished him the way he should have. When you're a champion of his level and they send you a guy that's supposed to be the next threat, you have to make a statement of that guy. Cejudo came back and he started relying on the trip in that fight. I don't think he won it, but he did do enough to make the champion look human again. I actually think it takes that type of fighter. Maybe Kamaru Usman would not have been the guy, but the thing
in my opinion, right, and this is all hypothetical. Looking at Usman fight, he doesn't do like. If we were talking about Colby Covington, I might have a different answer, because Colby Covington is the guy who would out pressure Khabib, right? Or at least attempt to, right? Because no one has ever been able to.
Right.
Usman is not that guy. Usman tends to fight in the same flow of whatever the person he's fighting against, and he did it with Colby. I get that, but Colby didn't go to the ground, right? Khabib's not gonna, right? Well, because Kamaru is a good wrestler. But he's not. I don't know who is on Khabib's level, right? We haven't seen it. I would have to see him fucking. I would have to see him. I would have to see him and like legitimately wrestle someone else at 170 pounds.
There's only one man that had the balls to do it. Abel Trujillo. Where's that guy at, man? We need to buy him a beer. The only man who was like, well, fuck this.
So apparently, early on in Khabib's career, there's like a really controversial
victory,
and I've never watched the fight. Have you watched the fight?
No, I know what it is, because everyone brings it up. It's an infamous fight in the forum where they feel like he got a decision he shouldn't have got or something like that. If I have it correctly, is that it? Right? It's that one.
It was a bad decision early in his career. People are saying he lost that first round. It's absurd to me that you would think that Khabib had lost that first round. He outstruck him on points and took him down. Right? That's a win.
So here's the thing here's a crazy thing I want to talk about, right? So Khabib won with a
Khabib won with one of the cleanest triangles anyone's ever seen.
So here's another thing that I absolutely enjoy about Khabib, right? So he has disparaged, and it's on record, only slightly, jiu-jitsu. He said out loud, "You're gonna need more than jits to stop me."
Yeah.
He's like, "It's not." He's like, "It's not." He's like, "You don't understand. It's not the same." But to see him throw up that triangle was amazing, dude. It lets you know that Khabib has more stuff in his bag, and I think not Dana White, Daniel Cormier, their relationship cracks me up. But Daniel Cormier said it's not that Khabib does 100 things right. He does 3 things correct, and he knows how to implement those 3 things over and over again because you don't ever get to see him in any trouble, so he doesn't have to do anything. I'm gonna go back and watch the one time that he was actually in trouble, 2 times with Michael Johnson and Abel Trujillo, and that wasn't even real trouble because his scramble was amazing. So you're absolutely right. I've actually never seen Kamaru Usman scramble with anyone. I've seen him actually get people down, and then they have that same look on their
and
face.
Hold him down. But what if he's on the other end of that? Right.
That's the problem. You don't know what he looks like off his back.
And did you obviously you saw it in the second round, the transition that started everything and led to it, where Gaethje ended up on top for a second, and Khabib was just like knee dump, and then it was like I was like, oh, what? I was like, what just happened? I'm like, this isn't wrestling. And then Gaethje was also like, I don't want to fucking do that either. And
that was a dumb move on his part, dude. Yeah. Think about the type of guy Khabib is. This is why you should respect him. I don't care what anyone says, man. That guillotine Dustin had him in, that was legit, and that was real.
That was the biggest danger he's ever been in his entire career. And he did the desperation move of rolling to your back to get out of it, right? That's like, if that doesn't work, Khabib is out. Like 100%. If Khabib is on his back in a guillotine, the way that he's out, right? Like,
and look, we're talking about a man that walked around with a broken foot, right? It gives you a little look into his psyche. This is a man that has a high threshold for pain, but he has, when they came up with the term "no quit" in him,
it's him.
It's him.
Like, you look up "no quit" in the phrase dictionary, and Khabib's picture just comes up. That dude is nutty.
So let's get into the fantasy factor here, man, because now it's like we can't even talk about it anymore. But is he the most accomplished in your mind? Most accomplished fighter to come out of AKA?
Man, that's out of AKA is a hard question. Yeah. You got DC, you get Kane, right? Those are the big notable ones. Who else came out of there?
Luke Rockhold.
No, he doesn't. No, I said notable.
Believe it or not, Josh Thompson was a champion.
No, I know, but in like a different era of UFC. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, how many times did DC defend belts?
For light heavyweight, so he got it against what's his face? What's that guy's name? No Time. Won the light heavyweight belt. Oh no, he first Rebel Johnson, then he got it back from No Time. He only defended a light heavyweight once. Now I think about it.
Gus.
Against Gus.
Yeah.
And he only defended the heavyweight against friggin' poor
Derek Lewis. And Kane only defended what, 3 times? Not even. No, because when fucking Stipe was like, "Oh, I've defended it 3 times." You're like, "You're the GOAT," because it was the most defenses. Yes, he is the most decorated, the most feared, the most dominant that ever to have come out of there. And oddly enough, the 3 guys who have come out of AKA that had done the best are all wrestlers, right?
Yep.
So
it's interesting. Dude, Second question.
I just want to see a grappling match between him and Kamaru Usman now, because then it's like, okay, I know who wins. You know, like no striking. Just can we just go like submission underground, get Chael to sign it up, fucking Khabib versus Kamaru Usman, and I bet you Usman gets smoked.
Yeah, I'd have to see how he really looks off his back, because there is a portion of me that, not seeing him there and visualizing in my head, I could see how Kamaru would kind of crumble. It's interesting though, because Khabib was being interviewed by a Russian reporter, and they brought up Kamaru, and it was obvious what they were doing. It was like, what do you think about Kamaru Usman? What do you think about him as a welterweight champion? Khabib kind of chuckled. He was like, he's the most dominant welterweight champion we've seen. He's like, I don't see anyone beating him in the next 2 years or so.
I agree.
But the question was definitely leading, and I didn't know they were as close as they were.
Oh, right. They're friends, right?
Yeah,
they're like really good friends. I forgot about that too.
That's another thing. Khabib has become more friendly as the years have gone on.
After the Conor incident, for sure.
Oh, after the Conor. I mean, Conor had everything coming to him that he got.
Dude, I'm so surprised Khabib hasn't like shown up at Conor's front door yet.
Dude, it's amazing to me because just the statement about his wife and the towel alone, right? I know we say pretty much anything that comes to our mind and we say it out loud and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, but we edit those out.
Yeah, we take that stuff out. To say that up at the podium and refer to his dude, like Khabib was just sitting there like, I'm gonna make you pay for every word, and he definitely did. That's a great fight to watch. If you ever want to feel better about yourself, like maybe you're not feeling like you're at your peak physical, and you're like,
just go watch Conor get smoked, dude. And listen to the people on Twitter that said that they want the Conor rematch. Watch the fight again.
Right.
Watch the fight again. There is no way. Like you're just a Khabib hater at that point, right? Like you literally are only fueled by Khabib hate to want to watch him fight Conor again, because Conor might get beat worse. I have no idea, and I don't know. The question always was, what about Khabib off of his back? So he put him there. He put himself there, and then choked poor fucking Justin Gaethje unconscious after Justin Gaethje tapped 4 times. That ref did not help. Dude, that ref screwed Gaethje.
The fight refs they're super villains, right?
Oh, they're hilarious. The one guy who has something to say when every strike happens. The guy is like, if you don't, your fucking hand to the cage. Your hand to the cage. Dude, I'm like, bro. The guy was like, my hand's not in the cage, man. Shut the fuck up. Like, yeah, dude. Yeah, Gaethje didn't have to go out there. Gaethje was well within that, and then obviously it's not Khabib's job to feel him tap and let go. When he gets told to let go by the ref, he gets told he lets go, right?
Yeah,
and which unless it's Conor and Herb Dean has to come in and save Conor's fucking life,
dude.
But
it's crazy. Let's talk about 155 for a second, man, because Benson Henderson was on the island. I don't know what fighter he came with, but Benson Henderson was the champion at 155 at one point. And think about where the divisions come from there, man. I actually would not have mind seeing that fight between him and Khabib. Yet again, fighters that never cross paths.
Not even in the same era, essentially.
Yeah, no, they were actually in the same era. And the crazy thing was Khabib was working his way up, and he was calling out RDA and Showtime Pettis. Benson lost the belt to Pettis, and that's when Khabib really started ramping up. He was like, RDA is going to smoke Pettis, and if he doesn't, I'm going to. Could you imagine poor Showtime Pettis having to fight Khabib? Could you?
Here's the issue, right? You say that. Benson Henderson hasn't fought in the UFC since late 2015.
So look at who he lost. Look at his loss to RDA.
That was August of 2014.
So look at
6 years ago. I mean, I obviously I know you're right because I just believe you on these things, but Khabib has been in the UFC since 2012. Sure, they crossed paths, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Or would have, but he fought RDA in 2014.
Dude, I'm telling you,
both fight RDA in 2014. Wait, they did. They both fought RDA in 2014.
That's what I'm saying. It's madness to me. It's absolutely madness. Zach, I wish I could take you back. I wish I could teleport you back to that time, because it was like the freaking Wild West. It was like the Wild Wild West in the freaking
6
UFC.
years ago. I was 18.
You
don't want that. You don't want that smoke in your
life. Were you angrier back then? Is this the calmer you?
I'm not gonna say anything.
I mean,
here's the issue, right?
Go for it.
Benson Henderson lost to RDA where Khabib beat him. So
yeah, no. It would have been interesting.
They leapfrogged essentially, right? They two ships passing in the night, and then Clay Benson Henderson gets retired to Bellator and loses to Michael Chandler.
Another fighter that was active when Khabib was active. Now, obviously, that is no one likes watching Clay Guida fight, right? I actually enjoy.
He has a lot of hair, right?
He's disgusting to look at. He's hard on the eyes, but that would have been the wrestler I would have wanted to see Khabib against. I want to see him against high-level scrambling psychopaths, not a guy who kind of wrestles every once in a while. I want to see him against that. That's why the great, oh man, my God, I can't even say his name without thinking about Kevin Lee. The worst thing that ever happened to the 155. Poor guy. I don't even think he's.
What do you think of an early Khabib versus instead of that first Jim Miller fight, Joe Lozon fights Khabib in 2012? What do you think of that fight? Because Lozon was a guy that is notoriously hard to put away, very good at scrambling, good off his back, and has good enough striking where he's gonna at least keep it on the feet for a little bit longer than most.
I think it would have been a fun fight. I think so. There are a few people I think would have made Khabib bleed, and I would put Lozon on that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
On that list. On that
he
list,
makes everyone bleed. He makes everyone bleed,
including himself.
Oh, for sure.
Dude,
was it the Jim Miller one fight where he was like bleeding like crazy? They gave him the canvas from that fight. The UFC it hangs in his gym.
Can you look something up for me?
Yeah.
Was Frankie Edgar the champion at 155, or was it he was champion at 155? Unbelievable. Can you believe that Frankie competed at 155? Looking at him,
he's fighting at 35 now, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm looking it up. This is not good. The division lightweight. Yeah, he came in lightweight, and then went down to featherweight, and then went down to bantamweight. What the fuck? Backward bullshit is that? Yeah. Oh yeah. Against Gray Maynard. Those fights were incredible.
Yeah.
And then lost twice in a row to Benson Henderson.
he took the belt from poor BJ Penn, I believe. And
Yes.
BJ Penn like threw a hissy fit about it. He was like, he shouldn't have celebrated. He barely beat me. And then they fought again. And then it was a close decision on that one too. And then the third time they fought, Frankie Edgar literally beat BJ Penn's head.
I'm looking at that. Dude, that is a trilogy fight that should have never happened. It's like it's like if fucking Whitaker and Romero were to fight again. It's like no, you lost twice, sir. You stole fizzy lifting drink. Good day, sir.
Get to the back of the line.
Yeah, good day, sir.
I'm trying to think of other dream matches that so of course
GSP
Kevin
is the
Lee.
only one. GSP. Wait, you want
Kevin Lee? No. I'm not saying I won this. Kevin Lee said that he believed that he would have gave Khabib problems, and I'm like,
Kevin Lee is delusional, man. No, there is only one dream fight. He fought everyone other than Tony Ferguson, which at this point I think he smokes Tony Ferguson. They're not even in the same level in my opinion, and I really like Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson is one of my favorite fighters, but he gets fucking smoked by Khabib. The only fights that I want to see are up at 70 or him versus GSP, and that's it.
Do you think he stays retired?
Listen, I think so. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think Khabib seems to be a man of his word, right? We talked about the honor thing that has really instilled in him, and I just don't think he wants to do it without his dad, and that's fair. You know, that is totally fair. He said he promised his mother that he wouldn't fight anymore after this one. So yeah, I do think that Khabib stays retired. That's it. He might compete in non-fighting, right? Like he might do like a grappling match, or but what Khabib is destined to do is to be the next great coach, right? Yeah. And I think that is where he's going to go, right? He said his next job is to help Javier Mendez, train this next group of people. And I think that's about, dude, if he could sign up Khabib as a fucking coach, it's like
credits roll. That's the movie right there.
Right. And it's like, dude, it's like
the movie.
Right. And it's like, okay, well, do I want Tom Brady as a quarterback coach? Right. Do I want the greatest of all time to do it in your fashion to be my coach? Yes. Do I want Tom Brady as a quarterback coach? And that's the only comparison that I could give Khabib at this moment.
What's great about the thought of him coaching at AKA and even just keeping on his dad's tradition is that he's passing along. Again, we're going to go back to the martial arts things, man. I feel as if some things can die with a teacher, right? If he doesn't get a chance to express that art. But Khabib is going to give it to his kids. He's going to share the wealth with the people there. Honestly, if you're a young fighter, head to AKA. Give it about a year or so. Let him get situated. Let him get his life back together. Let him mourn, because he hasn't done they've done all the rites and stuff like that. The burial system's a little bit different in Islam, but let him mourn. Yeah, and I would say that's where you head to become a fighter, man. And I'm going to celebrate that.
Steve's
part of
heading out there next year.
I am. I've already bought my ticket. You're coming with me.
What?
Best picture I saw of Khabib's retirement thus far is Khabib walking off into the sunlight, and there's a picture of Tony Ferguson in that suit with the freaking 80s gangbanger gloves on, and he's getting pulled back by Connor and Dustin.
And Dustin, yeah. I saw that. Actually,
Absolutely.
one of the most moving pictures I saw was so Justin Gaethje gets choked unconscious, and Justin Gaethje is out, and within 15 seconds pops up and goes to congratulate Khabib, and says to him that like you made your dad proud. Like that's literally what he said to him, and he is drooling. Like if you look at it after Khabib lets him go, he's fucking spit's hanging out. He's out. And he's cognitive enough to get up and congratulate him and go out and meet him in the center of the cage. That's it.
Dude.
You know, there is no question to me that Khabib is the most dominant 55 champion. I don't even need to see him fight anyone else. I don't care. I don't care.
It's over. The argument is over, dude. It's long over. And you know what? We said it was over a long time ago here Talking with a Dad. Zach, you know what you need to do for Khabib, man? You need to do the movie pitch for Khabib. Right, a lot of people really enjoyed your Marvel pitch for the game. You would probably.
I might have to come back on this one. I don't know if I can do it right now, but
I know you can't do it. If I'm a producer, just seeing him insane, aka he owns the gym now. Daniel Cormier's there eating food and he's uninvited, and Khabib's laughing at him
and he's locking the door as Kane walks up to it. Who are you? Get the fuck out of here.
Daniel turns around, realizes that John is standing behind him, and somehow he's still only 33. Doesn't understand before he gets choked out. Fuck. You okay? What's good?
No, I was doing the John. That's what John's going to be looking like. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? He's thinking right now.
I'm going through Khabib's record right now, man. Let's see. 2019, poor Dustin Poirier. 2018, poor Connor and Ally Quinta.
Not poor Connor. Poor Ally Quinta, I'll give you. Fuck Connor.
Dude, very interesting, though. I know it wasn't competitive. We're going to have people really look up the definition of the word competitive, but Ally Quinta stayed in there. Only guy to make it to the fifth round.
One of the best.
One of the few.
He's been to decision a few times. Okay, you said fifth round. I'll give you that. Literally the only guy to make it to the fifth round with him, I believe.
Yeah. Let's see. We got
literally, it was literally the only guy because that's when he won the belt.
Edson Barboza got beat to death.
Yeah, he got beat to death. He went to decision, but got beat to death. 16, he fought Michael Johnson, was where he's in one of the most trouble he's ever been in his career. Probably top 3, but again, doesn't matter. And Daryl Horcher, I don't know how that went, but I'm assuming it was a mauling.
It ended in round 2, so it didn't go good for
RDA went to decision with him, but I think that was a fucking very one-sided fight, right?
Yeah, he got
Khabib
dominated.
was a guy that literally has never lost a round, in my opinion. Right? The judges, you could go back and look at the rounds that the judges gave, whoever, right? But if you look at those objectively and you look at him without any sort of bias, Khabib doesn't lose those rounds. The guy's barely lost a minute inside the octagon in all 28 of his professional fights. I'm sure. I haven't gone back and watched what he was.
Dude, it's crazy. No, you're absolutely right. His most active year was 2013, and that year he has 3 wins over Pat Haley, Abel Trujillo, which is probably one of my favorite fights to watch.
Very incredible fight. If you guys haven't seen that, you guys should watch that.
Absolutely. And then he has a win over. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Thiago Tavares. Didn't know that. Tavares. Sorry, thank you. And
Gleason Tebow is the fight that people bring up.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the fight.
Really? I'm gonna have to go back and watch that after this. Funny, I have not seen this guy. Who is this? Kamal. I haven't seen Kamal after this fight actually. So this is the argument.
Yeah,
this is the argument that people have against him,
he
right?
Lost to RDA. 2 months later, and then has never been seen in the UFC again. He literally. It was on Fuel TV. Let's see how long ago this was. This is 2012. He has 2. Sorry, he also lost to Jim Miller in March of 2011. So he had 3 really tough fights in a row. Jim Miller, one of the most exciting fighters in that division. And then Khabib, the most dominant fighter in that division. And then fucking RDA. Like,
it's so crazy to think that RDA was the champion of the division. He did you see that fight with him and Pettis?
No, this was
a long night for Anthony Pettis.
Long ago. Oh yeah, I'm sure. There's been a few of those for Anthony Pettis, let's be fair. But yeah, Khabib is not the greatest of all time. Greatest lightweight of all time. I'll give him that.
Someone called him ignorantly, but I'd love to throw this out there for you. I know we don't want to dawdle on this too much longer, but some boxing analyst, and I'm being very liberal when I refer to him as that.
We're MMA analysts at this point, so
hey, we've earned it, man. We put the hours in. We took the certificate, 20 hours behind 7-Eleven, talking to that one guy. We're certified now.
Oh yeah, Billy.
This guy said, Billy so this guy said that Khabib is the Floyd Mayweather of MMA.
No.
And
no, because Floyd's thing was being so good at defense, you didn't get hit.
Oh no, he's talking about the record. Like,
oh no, I mean,
TBE, the best ever. That's what he's trying to say. He's saying
I don't think he's the best ever, right? You have to listen. He's the only person to ever retire undefeated, right?
Yep.
Other than the one guy who took a fucking 12-weeker and went in there, knocked some heavyweight out, and then retired after that. That's the only other guy, right? But but there is no one else that has done and fought the people that Khabib has fought and literally never. I don't think lost a minute in the cage, in the octagon. And there, that is pretty much just fact. You can find you would be hard to find 5 times in his career where he took a step backwards. And that's just what it is, right? And I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to
one
say.
last dream matchup, but I'm pretty sure we know how it would have ended. But man, it's going to go down. I think for me, this was the more intriguing fight than the Tony fight. Was the Holloway versus Khabib fight? Like, that was one that got people.
It's the same thing, right?
I know.
The same thing. We saw it after Dustin Poirier smoked Max Holloway, right? Like,
that's a good point.
We learned that at 55, if you don't come up correctly, right? If you just take the fight without cutting the extra 10 pounds, you fight Dustin Poirier and lose, and that's fine, right? And listen, it was a good fight. I love watching Max Holloway fight. I really, really do. He's one of my favorite guys to watch fight because
one of my favorite streamers, by the way.
I've never watched a stream, but yeah, you saw that, right? Like, that was the culmination of that fight. It's like, okay, well, the better of the two strikers won. Well, the better of the two strikers at 55 won.
The stronger of the two. Like,
right.
Were you at the house for that one? I can't remember.
Maybe.
I think you were.
There's a definite 80% chance I was.
So whoever I was watching with, I remember looking over at them, and when Dustin hit him with the first real 155 punch that he's ever felt, I was like, yeah, welcome to the bigger classes, because you're not really fighting a 155er. You're fighting a guy who could fight at welterweight.
Yeah.
But Khabib, we wish you well, man. Now we got to look to the future of the 155 division. Folks, we're going to give you the rapid fire by Zach. We haven't done this in a while. Zach, you're going to call it out right now. You're going to tell us who's going to be the champion next year.
Justin Gaethje.
Explain yourself, man. It's a trifecta going on. People were mad that there's a fight for at 170 to determine a title shot at 155.
So I don't think that happens, right? That's not confirmed. That's not signed, right? It's not, until it's signed, then I don't care, essentially, right? I think Gaethje fights Poirier, and I think, listen, either guy wins that belt, I'm happy, right? Poirier or Gaethje, because listen, we know that those guys are going to fight again, right? The issue with making the Poirier-Conor fight a title fight is we don't know if Conor wins. I don't know if he will. I think I actually really like Dustin Poirier. I think he's become a much better fighter in the time where Conor kind of stayed the same, essentially. I think that we don't know if Conor's ever gonna fight again, right? There's always the question looming in the back of your head. So I think you scrap that fucking fight. I think you give Gaethje, Poirier for the actual title. They're the last two guys that went in competition against Khabib Nurmagomedov before he retired as our interim champions, both of them. Right. You give them the title, and then Ferguson fights Chandler, and then the two winners fight each other. right? And that's where it is, right? Chandler coming from Bellator as a champion. Tony was a fucking interim champion for 19 years. And Poirier and Gaethje are the two guys that deserve. They're number 1 and number 2 contender for the vacant belt.
That makes the most sense to me.
And Conor
so what do
doesn't
you think?
fight fucking anyone. I don't give a shit. He could take a long walk off a short pier for all I care.
Oh, come on, man. He's got nice shoes, got a nice bubbly personality. He brought more fame to the sport than anyone's ever brought to it ever.
Yeah.
Before.
Okay. No.
Not,
Okay.
he's
not
not
interested. Not interested.
Is it his fans or Conor himself that you
it's the fact that if Conor was fighting 3 times a year, I would be way different. I'd be a huge Conor fan, right? But Conor fights once every 20 months, and we don't know if this fight is going to be his last fight, right? We can't have Conor come down, beat Poirier, don't know that he will, beat Poirier, win the title, and then go and fight Manny Pacquiao. And then 2 years later, Conor's like, oh, well, maybe I'll fight in MMA again. Because that's what's happened. That's at this point, notoriously, what has happened since Conor has fought the Nate Diaz fights, right? So that's where my aspect is listen, I like watching Conor fight. I like Conor on my TV. I do. But we don't know if that's going to happen again within the next 2 years, right? Because he's going to go fight Pacquiao, which is a worse fight for him than Floyd Mayweather ever was.
That's the dumbest fight.
It's bad. It's bad because Pacquiao's going to come out and finish him. And that's legitimately what's going to happen because that's what Pacquiao does. But, that's going to be an 8-month camp or whatever lead up to that fight. They're going to fly around the fucking world and do press conferences again.
With less pay-per-view buys, by the way.
With way less pay-per-view buys. Conor thought he was the draw there, which is hilarious. People buy the Floyd Mayweather fights who are casual fans to watch Floyd Mayweather potentially lose, which will never happen, guys. Come on. Yeah, I don't care what Conor does. Conor can go fight at 70. Listen, Conor's fought, 3 times at 70 now? Let him fight at 70, right? I don't care what he does, but I don't want a guy who fights every 18 months being our champion. And then potentially winning the belt and then going, well, I'm going to swing this in to fucking fight Manny Pacquiao. Because it's just like, dude, if you want to do exhibition fights, do exhibition fights, but be transparent about it. And that's what's happening.
Yeah. No, I mean, of course, as usual, you make an articulate argument about the whole thing. I would probably switch the order a little bit, but it does make sense to have Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. I think if I'm looking at it from a promoter standpoint, you got to do something with Michael Chandler, right?
Absolutely. That's why you give him Ferguson, right? That's why you give him Ferguson.
But see, here's the problem, man. I don't know. So if I'm just looking at it, backroom deal, I'm not entirely sure they want to waste that money on Chandler, have him, because it's a little bit different than Alvarez. And by the way, if you ever get a chance, if you're a casual MMA fan and you want to step up your game, go watch Eddie Alvarez versus Chandler, their whole trilogy. Absolutely amazing. Every one of those fights, amazing. But I think that a part of them, for their investment, I don't know what the contract payout was. They don't want to put him in there with someone like Ferguson, because then that you get a little diminished return on
Michael
that, right?
Chandler beats Tony Ferguson.
I agree with you.
I'm sorry. Tony Ferguson, I don't know what happened in between.
His number's up. His number
gone.
Is up.
Gaethje exposed him badly and literally beat the shit out of him. I think Ferguson had lost a step coming into that. What did he fought Pettis before that? Where he had to fucking roll away from the fight on multiple occasions to try to not get hit anymore. Chandler wipes the floor with Ferguson.
Dude, and so here's the thing, man. I said this to Santana because she's actually she likes Tony Ferguson. She likes the people call him El Cucuy. She just likes that word.
Well, do you know what? It's the most gangster nickname in all of fighting. El Cucuy is the ghost that comes down and scares children into being nice. Like that's the most gangster shit, dude. I'm like, okay.
Here's the thing. Tony has been primed to lose the way he lost to Gaethje for a long time. The damage is there, and I told you this before, man. Dude. It's so frustrating to watch people. It's one thing to get dominated by a guy like Khabib. It's another thing for you to go in there, fight a guy, and beat him half to death, and you gas yourself out beating him to death. And then he just starts to put it on you.
Really look at it, he didn't beat Gaethje half to death. He just gassed himself. He just gassed himself.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that other fighters have gassed themselves.
Oh,
trying to put Tony away, and I watched the same thing happen, except for Cowboy. That he had Cowboy's number from the the bell on that
Yeah,
fight.
but
Like he hit
everyone has had Cowboy's number recently. Let's be fair.
Good point.
He did a split draw with Nico Price.
That's so weird. People will go in there literally be winning the fight with Tony, and if they had someone like Jason Perilla in their corner to say, "Hey, take a step back, slow it down. We're gonna get him out of here," he would have been out of there a while ago. Chandler definitely does smoke him. I really would like to see Chandler versus Poirier though more for some reason, man.
But then who does Gaethje fight?
It's not the right fight to make. It's not, but for some reason, I would like to see that fight more.
But my thought is, who does Gaethje fight? Right.
So here, I have an unpopular opinion for you. No one's gonna like it. Give Gaethje the belt.
No, you're right. It's almost essentially what happened with the John DC thing, where where John gets disqualified. And they're like, "Hey DC, you're the champion again." DC's like, "I'm the champ." He's like, "This is my belt," and I'm like, "DC, you just lost, bro." And he just happened to take some dick pills and like all of the steroids, and then hit under the fucking cage, and then
ran the pregnant woman over, and then
that was fine.
We haven't seen this cat on his Instagram for quite some time. Who knows what happened to the cat? He took pictures with it every day for a year.
Oh yeah, he has like a Bengal cat or some shit, right? Yeah,
disappeared. We don't know what happened to him.
Maybe that dog that he got ate it. What the fuck?
Yeah, that dog is crazy. Have you seen their training regimen?
It's like a Belgian Malinois, I think. Listen, we're getting too deep into it now.
All right.
Yeah, so this is the fight. In my opinion, if I'm the matchmaker, listen, the UFC, I want 1% of the money you're going to make off of these fights, and I'll be good with it.
That's a good call. That was Zach's rapid exchange. Zach, I got one last question for you, man. One last question. Does the UFC do better next year?
No.
In your estimation?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you're going to be able to pressure people into the fights that they've been pressured into when we have a full year. And we have the game plan worked out. Right. I don't think so.
It's gonna be crazy to see. I can't believe 2020 is almost gonna be up. But here's another thing we got to give UFC props on, man, and we can close it with this. You guys were all wrong. ESPN, Fox, MSG, NBC. You were all wrong. Washington Post, Yahoo News, wrong. Daily News, wrong. Every last one of you guys that said this whole thing was going to crash and burn during COVID, it's amazing to me. Like you gave them no credit. I wish I could make sound effects right now for how wrong you were. If there was some audible noise that represented wrongness on this topic,
it would just be TV static.
Wrong. You were all wrong. We get to close it out with the GOAT in the lightweight division. And then we're gonna get ready to start up for a new year. Apparently they had some huge meeting about the matchmaking going into next year.
Really?
I don't know.
If they keep this caliber of matchmaking going for the next year, the UFC will be bigger than NBA.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna be really unpopular, man, but fuck it. If boxing is truly headed to the place where most people are worried that it's headed to, if Zuffa boxing takes off, it'll
be the biggest thing in boxing. HBO's not in boxing anymore for a reason, right? And they saw the writing on the wall. The DAZN situation where Canelo signed a $500 million contract and they can't pay it out, even if they liquidate all of their assets. Essentially, they couldn't pay out a half of it or whatever. Yeah, man. Boxing is in a dark place. Boxing right now is incredible. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of amazing fights in boxing right now, but boxing itself as a whole needs someone to come in and save it. And they need to get rid of fucking like 80% of the promoters. They need to make it like the WBO, or the WBA, whatever one you want it to be, or the IBC, the IBA, the fucking
all the belts.
It needs to be one, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be maybe two. Give me two organizations, WBA, WBO, whatever, right? Give me two, and that needs to be structured. That needs to be structured way better. I think their old idea of like, oh, the more the merrier is way fucking wrong. It's the same thing. Counter-Strike is going through the same thing right now, right? I'm gonna make a really good parallel. ESEA, Face It, IEM, the regular Counter-Strike league, and like there's like 5 or 8 leagues in Counter-Strike right now where you like, if you're a champion, like you're just playing again next week. Like you can't like take that time to be the champion and then go and do another tournament, right? Like, and same thing with boxing is like, there's 8 belts at fucking super welterweight or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, I like all the weight classes in boxing, but you got to turn down the belts, man. It has to be one belt, and fuck all those promoters.
See, you beat me to it. That's why I was patiently waiting there. You really read my mind. That is one of the things that's killing boxing is the multiple promoters and the politics it takes
dude,
to get a fight to happen. And it's like, here we go again, me making the same point. When you have one visionary with people who share the vision, you get more done.
That's fair, right? And like Marvel's a good example of it. Like anyone who could like centralize and branch out is the correct way to do it, in my opinion. Boxing is doing it very wrong. And it what sucks. There's a lot of good fights to make in boxing right now, dude. I would literally throw a small dog into a swimming pool if I could get Earl Spence versus Crawford, thank you. But we'll never fucking see that. I would save the small dog immediately after. Small dog is cute. But like no! I'm jumping in after. I'm like, I'm gonna try myself for you instead. But like legitimately, dude, like that fight needs to happen, right? People are at the top. The Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua fight needs to happen. The Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight needs to happen. Give me fucking Anthony Ruiz back in there.
Lopez,
Ortiz,
any of the two guys you just said, Crawford or
Ortiz needs to come in. Teofimo Lopez, I want to know what he's gonna do next. I almost want to know if there wasn't a rematch clause with Lomachenko, so he's gonna go off and do his own thing. I want Lomachenko to fight again, but I want him to go fucking fight someone good, right? What is Canelo gonna do instead of fighting a can again, right? Like, Unfortunately, what happens with boxing is they're like, oh, well, you have to fight this guy, and it's not structured in the way that makes sense. It's like. It's like, oh, well, Canelo's the champion, but he's going to fight this guy who's an up-and-comer who's like 18 years old, and he's just going to ruin him, right? And they're like, well, Canelo's great. And it's like, yeah, no, Canelo's the best pound-for-pound boxer at the moment. But if you look at the competition that he has to fight against versus what he should fight against, there's a disparity there. And I think boxing needs to be centralized, and I think they need to, like, work on a fucking organization instead of it being this promoter and that promoter and these guys, and well, that guy signed to a contract where this guy has to choose what his next fight is, and that guy can't make enough money, so like, dude, it's to follow boxing is a nightmare.
Dude, if you ever want to watch the tragic tale of boxing, go watch Magnificent about Sergio Martinez and just the way he got stripped of his belt. It sounds normal because it's like, oh, you were supposed to fight this guy, you didn't fight this guy, so you stripped it. But actually what happened was they didn't want him to fight this guy. They wanted this guy to fight this guy. So they made it seem like he was inactive.
Sure.
And they took the belt from him. No hearing, no nothing. And it'll be great to see what Zuffa Boxing does. They are going to make one last push, and I'm calling it, especially with these free fights on ESPN Plus. They tried to do this on Fox and they tried to do it on NBC, but I think it's going to fall flat for all the reasons that were just laid out right now.
There's just too many cooks.
If you can't get the casual fan to just jump in after watching the Joshua fight, like they can't stick around because they're not comprehending what's going on, they're not going to stay. And it's not really their job. I hate to say this, man, as much as we love to not be casuals about things, it's not the casual's job to educate themselves.
Right.
It's your opportunity to educate them on your
brand. You have to sell to me, right? Like you have to sell to me, and it's just not that at the moment, unfortunately, because I like boxing. I really do like boxing, but at the moment, boxing there's a lot of great fights that could happen, but there's going to be a lot of pretty okay fights that do happen, and that's the issue with boxing.
That would be a great shirt to have to wear to a boxing match. This isn't a fight I paid for, but this will do.
It's like, well, I could have thought of 13 other fights, but you guys are all idiots.
This is fine. Oh man, Zach, I had a lot of fun tonight, man. I was a little worried at first. We didn't know how this whole thing was going to go, but as usual, we started talking about UFC, and it was just 4 hours later.
Yeah, I'm tired already.
That's why I didn't even bother doing the time says. Like, this is going to be another stream of consciousness.
Oh, dude, these are my favorite episodes. Mondays are just like shit shows. I think next week on Monday we're going to do conspiracy theories. Talk about some conspiracy theories. And then I think the following Monday. So we got next week is going to be the second, and then the week after that is going to be the pre-Call of Duty episode, where I shit down Call of Duty's throat one last time before I ride off into the sunset and never talk about it again, until we get to the CDL season, and then we'll have a good time there. But That
I'm
is
making a commitment. We are becoming real analysts, folks. You've heard it here. You got to hold us accountable.
I
when
can do it easy.
GL rolls around this time, we're going to be knee deep in it. Just so I can hear
Boom.
Zach talk so much shit. Anything I can do to egg him on. Zach, you want to take us out, man? Give us the radio voice.
I mean, I can. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming in to Talking with a Dad this evening. Find us at talkingwithadad.com, Talking with a Dad on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube. Also, shout out the audio listeners. You guys are fucking awesome. We love you guys. Not that the video listeners are not great. We guys just kind of just slacking compared to the audio guys. And yeah, find us on your favorite audio podcast app. And that's it. Oh.